Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I know there's a lot of people coming on. I know you're finishing work and school. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're going to get started, though, to make sure that we can get through everything. So I'm sure there'll be some more people joining us. We've had 250 registrations, which is amazing. But we'll probably just keep moving this forward and make sure that everyone can join. But we are recording as well. So welcome to everybody. So first of all, welcome to the Sunshine Coast Future Careers Parents webinar. And we did want to say thank you so much for being so versatile and flexible with us while we had to sort of have a bit of a change from face-to-face to online. We're really grateful that you came on board with that for us and you're here with us tonight. Before we really get stuck into what is going to be a jam-packed night tonight of some really amazing speakers, we did just want to do a couple of things. First of all, my name is Tracy Kabula. I am going to be your host and MC for tonight in the webinar. And I'm also lucky enough to be the project manager of the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee. And I am actually speaking to you from Kabi Kabi country, and I would just like to acknowledge the country that we're country and territory that we're all meeting from today, from all over the region. And we'd also like to pay our respects to the original teachers and students of this land and to the elders past, present and emerging of our region, and to also welcome a really warm welcome to all of our First Nations people that are joining us online tonight. So before I get into the big part of it, firstly, announcing all of our amazing speakers that we have for you tonight, I did just want to go through a couple of quick housekeeping things just to make sure everything runs really smoothly. So the first one is that you will notice that all of your cameras when you come on and your mics are automatically switched to off. This is something that happens in the background from our tech team, and this is really just so that we can keep things really running really smoothly. So we've got a lot of presentations to get through and make sure there's no background noise, etc. But we do want your interactions. So we do want you to be asking questions all the way through. We won't be answering questions individually as we go. We'll hold them all over into a session of Q&A at the very end. But we'd love for you to, if you have a look up into the top navigation bar, there is a little question mark in the symbol there for Q&A, and that is where you can actually add in all of your questions as you go through the night, and we'll be monitoring that all night as well, so that when it comes to the Q&A section at the end, we'll be able to have a look through those and start asking questions to our speakers. So that's the best way to communicate with us for tonight. If you can use the Q&A function, that would be fantastic. And as mentioned, we are recording this tonight as well, so that you can relax. You don't actually have to feel like you've missed something and you need to ask and go back. You will get a copy of this in the next day or two so that you can go back and go through things in your own time and have a look at what the areas of real interest were for you. And we will also make sure that when we send this out to you, we'll send you the presentation deck as well so that it matches up. And it just means that tonight you can just be really present. And I know that a lot of people have family and things. So if you do have to go to the bathroom or, attend to a child, etc., you're going to be able to see the recording later as well. And then finally, we just want to let you know that you'll still be able to get in contact with us. We want to encourage that post this event. So you can do that through our website. We're sharing that through a QR code that you'll be able to connect in with at the very end. For the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee website. You can contact us there. There's more information about what you've seen tonight as well. So, yeah, we'll get into it, and I'll be able to do some introductions. So, for the first introduction of amazing speakers, I'd like to introduce Andy Eves-Brown. So, Andy Eves-Brown's about to come up on the screen for us. Hi, Andy. So, Andy is the current CEO and project director of Turbine. He was also the CEO of Koyo, the amazing coconut yogurt, and the CEO of Gourmet Garden. And he also headed up the Economic Development Division of Sunshine Coast Council. He has amazing business and strategy pedigree working across all industries in our region. And we are really lucky enough to have him volunteer as our chairman for the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee. So welcome, Andy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Next, we'd like to introduce Wanda Hayes. So Wanda is an absolute legend. She's actually fighting through illness tonight and looks absolutely stunning, and you can't tell at all. So Wanda, thank you so much for being such a trooper and being on here tonight. She is going to be our key. Thank you, Wanda. She's going to be our keynote for tonight and has an illustrious career in career development. She's worked across all school sectors, as well as primary and secondary. She's also worked for Education Queensland, for private organisations, and had her own consulting company. And in that, she's also somehow found time to be the president of the Career Development Association Australia, the CDAA, for 4 years. And we're now lucky enough to have her here on the Sunshine Coast. So thank you, Wanda, for being our keynote for career development and career advisory tonight.
Thank you.
We were going to have an amazing other keynote speaker, and his name is Kurt Jones. He's actually, unfortunately, can't be with us tonight because he is a sustainability champion and is in the wilderness in Tasmania and couldn't get a stable enough connection, unfortunately. But he did speak at our dinner a couple of weeks ago, and we were so impressed. The teachers were so impressed with his passion, and you could absolutely understand why he won the Queensland Young Achiever 2024 award last year. And so what we're going to do is we're going to share with you, with the link for this recording, his recording from the teachers' dinner, so that you can actually get a taste of how passionate he is about what he's doing. And he has founded his own not-for-profit around sustainability called Coexist Australia, but also around his journey in schooling and how he was one of those kids that kept getting expelled and ended up finding his sort of pathway. So he's got a really great story that we'll share with you as well. And then next we would like to welcome Dina Mearing, who is joining us from TAFE Queensland. So Dina is the School Engagement Officer for TAFE, and she's a huge advocate for study and training pathways. She's sharing with us a video tonight, but she's also going to join us later for any Q&A that you might have for TAFE. So we're really excited to have Dina on board. Thank you. And then Jodie Russell. Jodie Russell will be the speaker after her. Jodie joins us from the UniSC's Future Students team, and she's the Regional Engagement Coordinator there. And Jodie knows absolutely all things around tertiary pathways and industry connection outcomes, and has got some really great information for all of you around those areas. So we're looking forward to hearing from you later. Thanks, Jodie.
Thank you.
Then we have Marteniekie Forsyth. So she's with us today from Education Queensland. And Marteniekie is a Senior Pathways and Transitions Officer there. And she has all the information you need to know about QC and QCE points, and it can be really daunting. And so we're so excited that Marteniekie has been able to share with us today to really unravel any and sort of demyth anything that you might have around that QCE process and the points to really help guide you for your students' senior years. So thank you, Marteniekie.
Thank you, Tracy.
And last but not least, we have in our lineup of speakers, we have Tara Jacobsen and Shannara Goddard. So Tara is the founder and director of Groei, and Shannara is the project manager for Study Sunshine Coast and Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast. And they're going to chat about the amazing entrepreneurial and innovative programs that can really boost your child's current studies, especially around transferable soft skills that we know all industry are really crying out for at the moment. So we're looking forward to hearing from them later as well. And last, just to call out our amazing back-end team. So Min and Annie are in the back end, just making sure everything runs really smoothly for us and inviting everyone in as they come in and keeping an eye on that Q&A forum. So thank you for that. So the last thing before we really get stuck into it is just a little bit of background. We wanted to sort of give you a bit of a set the scene of who the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee actually is. And so for that, we just wanted to give a background. So in March last year, the Queensland Government partnered with the Caloundra Chamber of Commerce to form the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee. There's 12 of these across the state, and last year we were luckily one of those people that were new to come on board. So we've been going for about a year, which is great. And it's a group of myself as a project manager and then 16 volunteer members across industry, government and education that all come together to really help look at driving jobs growth in the region and plan for our future. And we really focus on 3 key areas. It's workforce participation, skills development and business growth. And one of the first tasks that we were tasked with for conducting was 4 local workforce forums last year. And that was with 120 different business leaders from 74 different businesses across the coast. And we wanted to find out from them how we could make the most impact to make them thrive, to really help them thrive. And overwhelmingly, industry told us that they wanted to have better connection into schools to help grow our own talent and support the exponential jobs growth that we are seeing here in our region. And that's how we came to form the Future Careers events that we've got and you're part of tonight. So the first one of those was a dinner for teachers. So that was really speaking to principals, heads of year, career advisors, and industry liaison officers. There was 104 of us that attended that dinner. It was over 3 hours, and it was pretty much a longer version of what you're going to have tonight, a bit more in-depth version, but to really bring teachers on the journey with us on what is happening in the industry and our region, especially around careers and job opportunities. We then followed up the next day with some of your children might have been part of this, was our Year 10 immersive showcase at UniSC. So we had 2,500 students attend that for our first one, which was fantastic. They were from 23 different schools and 3 homeschool groups. They got to speak to and have experiences with 36 different businesses in 8 different pods, which are industry streams. And within that, there was also 9 pod hosts who are industry mentors that they got to meet. And there was also 11 pathway providers there that were really there to help them connect that idea from leaving school, study, or a trade, etc., into a career. So those 2 things happened a couple of weeks ago and were huge and amazing. And then the last element for us is really making sure that we are connecting in with the parents as well, because we know the storytelling needs to happen across all of these key audiences. And so that's where we'd really like tonight to bring you on the journey and really set the scene of what's happening in the region, what the language is, where we're seeing the growth and why we're seeing the growth, and then to introduce you to some of the key people that can really help your students in their senior years. So enough about of that sort of element. We're now going to be able to get straight into it. So I'd like to play a video for you. This is our Minister for Finance, our Minister for Trade, and our Minister for Employment and Training, the Honourable Ros Bates. She was unable to make our dinner, but she was able to send us a video instead. And I really like this to show first because it just sort of solidifies the state government's support of us in really growing our own talent. And so enjoy the video from Minister Ros Bates.
Hi there, Ros Bates here, Minister for Finance, Trade, Employment and Training. And I'm so pleased to be able to join you on this important occasion to acknowledge and celebrate the hard work and commitment you've shown in growing the local Sunshine Coast workforce. The Crisafulli government knows how crucial this is for local business growth, especially in supporting the fastest growing regions in Queensland. With the current skills shortage in Queensland, we are eager to work with you and support as many community organisations and employers as possible to address this shortfall in the near term. Now, we understand the importance of teachers, students and parents working together, and that's where the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee plays an important role. When I think about learning, I'm reminded of my nursing studies, and reflecting on that time, I see how the dedication of teachers and parents truly sets students on the right path. I wish you all the best of luck and thank you again for your hard work.
Thank you, Minister Bates. Next, what we'd like to do before we sort of drill down into the sort of micro view of careers and jobs available on the Sunshine Coast, first we wanted to sort of set the scene and do some storytelling around the actual region and the growth that's happening in the region and why that's happening and what's really driving the change that we're seeing here that is so huge. So I've got a few data slides, which I promise I'll make as exciting as possible. So firstly, just talking about the people of the region. So when we're looking at data, we are currently looking at an area that they qualify as SA4, so Statistical Area 4, which means it's an area that encompasses the Sunshine Coast LGA region as well as the Noosa LGA region. So we look at those together, which is for us really important because, of course, all of our workforce works across those 2 regions. And the population, when it was last officially taken in 2023, was at that 424,000. Fast forward 8 years, the prediction for the population in 2033 is going to be over 500,000. So 545,000 is what is predicted to happen in the next 8 years. And to put that into context, that's the size of the population of Tasmania right now. That's the size of Newcastle as a city. So you can see from this population alone, we're really tipping into that city-esque area rather than that regional area. And in terms of population, we're third in Queensland behind Brisbane and Gold Coast and ninth in Australia, but we're really closing in on that. So we are actually, you'll see in the next slide as well, we actually have got a lot of population growth in our region, which is driving a lot of the employment growth that you'll see as well. Now, of that population, sorry, just back please. Of that population, the working population that we have out of the 424,000 is around 60%. So 60% of us are qualified as working age. And what's interesting is that even though we have this influx of population coming in, our unemployment rate is still really low. So we have the jobs, we've got the people coming in. Do we have the other infrastructure to support them? So at the moment, for January, our unemployment rate was 3.2%. That time last year, it was 3.6. The state average for Queensland at the moment is 3.9. So we're well below that. We have a lot of jobs on offer, and pretty much if you want a job, you can get a job. But the real interesting one for us is that in January, our youth unemployment rate was at 6.4%. And last year, in that same time period, it was 7.9. So even our youth are being able to be employed in areas now, and our industry are really crying out for really good workers. So on our next slide, I like to include this one because it's an interesting stat. We know and we feel, if you've been on the Sunshine Coast for a little while, or even if you hadn't, you know that it's getting busier. You can feel that it's getting busier. And the regional Australia as a group work with CommBank, and they do a quarterly report on a regional movers index. And this basically looks at where are the hotspots in Australia for where people are moving to from cities and regions. And what is not surprising here is you can see the Sunshine Coast is the #1 place, hugely for cities, and then from other regions. So cities is the blue and green is from other regions. So we are leading as the #1 place in the whole of Australia for net internal migration. So people moving from outside areas into the Sunshine Coast. What is really interesting is that since COVID 2020, we were in second position for a couple of years till we came out of COVID in 2022 behind Gold Coast. And then from 2022 onwards, for 9 consecutive quarters, the Sunshine Coast has been the #1 place in Australia. Gold Coast has actually had negative migration with people moving back out after they moved in, and the Sunshine Coast has stayed #1. So you might be a family that's just moved here. We welcome you from the southern states. That seems to be our biggest cohort. Or you might be established here and really noticing the change in the mix. But that just is a graph that shows you exactly how busy it's been and that we are the #1 continuously in Australia. So we've got a lot of people moving in. The housing prices have gone up. As you can see, in the last 4 years, they've gone up 72%. Housing is getting an issue for us to be able to house everyone. So for employment and for businesses, that's something that we have to be really cognizant of as well. And the other thing that we're seeing with that, and after speaking to schools, is that our schools are telling us that while we're getting a lot of influx from southern states, wait lists for private schools, so Catholic and independent, are going up. So the increase in wait lists for those schools. But we're actually seeing a trend of state schools having a negative enrolment percentage. So what that means for us is we have to be really aware of what's happening in our region and what access we have to talent. There's some families are moving out. They've got skills that have been in sort of businesses for a while. We could be losing some while we're gaining some new skills coming in. So we're just really cognizant of that balance as well. So well, we've been looking at sort of population and housing and net migration. Also looking at data from Jobs Queensland. So our friends at Jobs Queensland have been working across a whole range of trends for employment for us. And they've just released what their projected trends are for 2027-28, so the next sort of 2 to 3 years. And for a state, the fastest growing jobs that they see are these 5 job areas. And it's no surprise that 3 of the top 5 sit within the health, social assistance, allied health areas that you can see there. And the other 2 sit within the digital information and communications technology area. So in terms of for Queensland as a whole, those 2 industries are definitely safe bets. But if you have a look on the next slide, when they actually drill that down into regions, they've actually indicated that the Sunshine Coast is going to be the #1 place in the whole of the state for fastest increase in employment projected. So we were, in their last projections, which was to 2023-2024, we were sitting in 2nd place. We've now leapfrogged into 1st place to have the fastest employment in Queensland for that growth. So not only are we having the highest net migration into the region, we're going to have the highest employment growth in the region as well. And you can see on the side there, it's going to be about 15,000 extra workers in the next 3 years. And for us looking at that, when we're thinking of who is going to fill those jobs, we're really cognizant that, our year 10s that are currently now, which is why we focused our year 10 showcase a couple of weeks ago, they will be the ones coming out in the next few years, as well as, year 11s and 12s that are either going into study or into careers. And we really need to make sure that we're getting the story right around the opportunities that are here in the region, how big we're growing, what those industries are, what those careers can look like, the skills that you can actually get here in region so that we keep our talent here. So we really want your children to be able to stay here in the Sunshine Coast and have amazing world-class careers. And that's what tonight is really about, is starting that conversation and having that first step to connect with you on what are those opportunities so that we can keep building on that, so that the storytelling is that you don't have to leave the region to have an amazing career. Now, this area is also from Jobs Queensland, and that's drilling down now into what areas in the Sunshine Coast region that we would recommend that your children will have amazing opportunities in. So the first one is what industries are going to have the highest percentage of jobs growth. So this is where we're seeing the fastest growth in an industry. And while their job numbers might be a bit smaller, they are going to be exponential. So we're going to see a lot of focus in these areas. So first of all, you can see health is predominantly #1 massively. So any career in health and social assistance, allied health is going to be very well received here. You're going to have a job for a very long time. It's a very safe industry to be in for the Sunshine Coast as well. The next ones there are public administration and safety. So we need the police, we need our clerics, we need our government service, public servants. We also need our professional, scientific and technical services, as well as our electrical, gas, water and waste service staff. So infrastructure that's happening here, professional services, technical services to support that. We're definitely changing. You'll see a little bit more about that when we hear from industry. And then that public administration, and then education and training. So those we're going to see the biggest amount of growth. So if your child is coming into one of those industries, they're going to also be able to grow with that industry very quickly. So in terms of career progression, that is going to move very quickly. So they're a really good sort of base area to get into for the next few years. But the second one underneath that, the second table underneath that, really speaks to the numbers, the total number of jobs that we have in industries that are going to be the biggest. And they are all still very strongly our foundational industries that we know the Sunshine Coast has been built on. So again, health by the double the amount of population, we definitely need a lot of workers in the healthcare sector. But retail, trade, accommodation and food services, construction and education and training, we definitely need bodies in those. So if your child is any way inclined to those, there is absolutely safe bet in terms of jobs for them. And then this was just an interesting a report that LinkedIn have just put out in the last week, and they looked at what are the skills. So we looked at sort of what careers and industries, but then also looking at what skills are the fastest growing skills in Australia at the moment, and there's 15 of them. And I think what was interesting is that a lot of these are transferable skills, they're multidisciplinary skills, and they're the soft skills that we know are definitely what industry are looking for at the moment. So you can see the list there. There's communication, strategic thinking, adaptability, conflict resolution, leadership and problem-solving skills. So some of our speakers are going to talk to those skills that we can help schools supplement that training for your child to make sure that they have got the best foot forward when they're thinking about careers, to have some of those transferable skills that will guarantee them really great work and amazing careers in our industry. So we'll share all of these so you can see the links as well after. And then the last thing that we're sort of looking at, just so you know, as we're sort of painting the picture of what we're looking at, is really understanding the Gen Zs and what they look like and want to look for in careers. So at the moment, Gen Zs are going to have a lifespan of about 45 years. If the next ones can please come up. Just have to click on the next view. Thank you. So 45 years is their lifespan. So they'll be from early 20s to mid 60s. And in that lifespan, they will, on average, change jobs every 3 years. So we are making sure the industry are really aware of that they understand that is the norm now. And so they're prepared for people to come in, get some really great experience skills, leave, but possibly come back, especially if you have a great culture. And then from that 3 years and in your 45-year span, they're going to have 16 to 17 jobs across 5 to 7 careers. So they're actually going to work across a whole range of different careers. They're not generally going to stay in one area and have a traditional linear pathway like they usually have. They're going to want opportunity, diversity, and flexibility. So when you think about opportunity, diversity, and flexibility, and you think about how fast the Sunshine Coast region is growing, that really connects in with that storytelling as well. And the fact that they want to be mentored rather than managed, they want to have people that inspire them and that can really give them actual real-time feedback on the way. And that's why we're starting to introduce, and we did introduce at the showcase, those pod hosts and industry leaders for our region that they can start getting familiar with and putting a face to the name for, and actually understanding and having chats with them around what's happening in the region. And then the last piece is about that lifelong learning. And so we'll speak to our pathway providers a little bit later around how that looks now for students when they're coming through, to be able to choose the pathway and the training and the study that actually really suits them. So that was enough data slides from me now. I think it's probably best to hear, we had from the teachers' dinner, we had an industry panel that was really phenomenal. And of that, we've just done a short summary of 3 key areas. Amanda Yates, who is the CEO for Sun Central, who's looking after the new CBD in Maroochydore. Tim Kelly, who is the director of the Manufacturing Excellence Forum and looks after advanced manufacturing for the region. And Katie Healy, who is strategic director for the Sunshine Coast Health Service. So you can hear from them.
Can anybody remember the last time $4 billion was invested on the Sunshine Coast in a development? No? Well, that's good. I'm glad no one said yes, because it's never happened before. So to put it in context, if you look at Queen's Wharf in Brisbane, I mean, Brisbane crowed about that, about how fantastic it was and how big it was. That development was $3.6 billion. So what we are building in the Maroochydore City Centre is more significant than what they built at Queen's Wharf. Queen's Wharf, when it is completed and fully up and running, will employ 8,000 people, mostly in tourism, hospitality and gambling. We will employ 20,000 people in the Maroochydore City Centre, and we will employ those people in knowledge industries, health and professional services. So I think we are on the cusp of an absolutely enormous opportunity here on the Sunshine Coast. And I think Mayor Frank's comments earlier about the biospheres are really critical, because the other thing is that we have a culture on the Sunshine Coast where we care a lot about the environment. So we are going to have people who are going to think about development, who are going to think about the sort of work that we are doing in a more sustainable way.
We published a 32-page report, which is great if you want to go to sleep, about the macroeconomic condition of the Sunshine Coast from a manufacturing perspective. There's about 1,500 manufacturers here on the coast now. They employ about 10,000 people. Our region, when you normalise the data on a per capita basis, our region, our sleepy little, retirement village tourist trap is going to overtake Queensland on a per capita basis in about 3 years by the number of manufacturers that we have in our region, how many people they employ, how much they export, how much they output from a revenue perspective. We're on par to take them over soon, and that really needs to continue. And advanced manufacturing is really going to be the thing that drives a lot of that.
Everybody thinks Sunshine Coast Health, doctors, nurses, allied health. But we have everybody. We have lawyers, we have project managers, we have accountants, we have electricians, we have business analysts. I could go on. And really, I think our biggest workforce is nursing, and we're projected to continue for that to be the trajectory. But our second biggest workforce is our administration and clerical workforce. So that really ranges from our school leavers who want to finish school and get straight into the workforce and then want to take on administrative duties, so maybe some reception type work or front patient facing work, all the way through to our managers, our team leaders, our directors and onwards. So I think if you have the inkling or the desire to help the healthcare of our region, then I'm sure we can find a job that matches you.
And I always love hearing that, because it just gives me goosebumps about how phenomenal the opportunities are here in the Sunshine Coast, especially in the next few years. And I think that's a really good segue to bring in Andy Eves-Brown, who of course is our chairman. Thanks, Andy. Andy is going to speak to us just around those industries. And I think, Andy, you can probably speak better than anybody around the opportunities that are happening in our region.
Thanks, Tracy, and good evening all. As Tracy said, really want to give people an understanding and an idea of what industries are out there. And back in 2013, the Sunshine Coast Council, as the region was coming out of the GFC, the Sunshine Coast Council realised that we were predominantly tourism and predominantly construction, and that the GFC really hurt the region. So they pulled together what is called the REDS, the Regional Economic Development Strategy. And that REDS strategy really was an idea of actually how can we diversify the economy as it continues to grow? How can we focus on the jobs that we want for the future? And so back then, they came up with, and you'll hear a few buzzwords tonight, and hopefully it's an introduction to those words if you hear them out and about, which they came up with 7 high value industries. And you can see on this chart in front of you, as it says at the top, Regional Economic Development Strategy, the REDS. The original REDS back in 2013 is still available on the Sunshine Coast Council's website. And then this is a refreshed version when we did a review back in 2023 when I was at head of economic development for the council. But you'll see on here, this is a sort of summary chart that very much defines firstly the high value industries that you can see bolded at the top of those titles. So things such as knowledge industry, the health and wellness, research and training. So those being very much key industries that we wanted to promote and grow. But then as you move across, you can see aviation and aerospace and food and agribusiness, and to then go into clean tech, which really does marry with what you heard on the video earlier about the UNESCO biosphere in this region, and actually having 3 UNESCO biospheres all connected together. And then not forgetting the other high value industry, which was our tourism and sports and events. But in 2023, when we revised the strategy, we were really seeing a lot of emerging industries, the new industries that were coming into the region. So not only the 7 that had been a focus for the previous 10 years, but actually the emerging industries such as cybersecurity, the screen industry, and all those other industries that are up there that are in lighter text. And so the plan and the strategy of the region was very much to grow it. Back in 2013, the region had an economy of around 13 million. It's now at 21 billion. It's now at 21 billion, with these strategies focused on getting the economy up to 33 billion by 2033. And so these are the focus areas that council focuses on, but also within the region that we've very much collaborated across the region and ensured that these ideas and these regions are embedded throughout the industry groups and chambers. And you'll see across the top the 6 economies now that we've wrapped the high value industries underneath. So the knowledge economy, going through to the digital economy and those new emerging industries, the production economy, which brings in food and ag, but also, as you heard from Tim, the advanced manufacturing, the green economy, again, bringing in the high value industry of clean tech, but also focusing on that this is a industry that's really important for this region. The visitor economy, where tourism obviously sits, but also the other industries that are emerging in that space, and then the place-based economy, and that's really all those industries that help the region grow, whether that's hospitality, whether it's construction. It's all those place-based where there's a lot of work in understanding how do you create an environment that people want to live in, come and visit, and to grow and prosper. And if we were to go on to the other slide, this is what we coin the fabric of the Sunshine Coast. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got around 13 different chambers of commerce. So they're all down the side, or sorry, they're on the top and at the bottom. And those chambers of commerce are really defined by their geography. You either have, there's the Chamber of Commerce of Caloundra or Kawana, Maroochydore, Mooloolaba. And so very much a group of, again, volunteers that look after the interests of those regions by geography. And then crossing those, and that's why we call it the fabric, crossing those geographical areas is actually all the industry groups. So you'll see down there, there's industries such as Silicon Coast, which really focuses on innovation and entrepreneur. There's Study Sunshine Coast, which is all about education and training. And you can see through there's Food and Agribusiness Network. There's MEF, which is Manufacturing Excellence Forum. And so there's really industry groups that look after a lot of these different industries on the coast. And again, as I say, made up usually of volunteers that are just passionate about wanting to see this region grow. And so the combination of the chambers and the industry groups are really driving those high value industries. And so from a year 10 and parents of students, by understanding and knowing that those industry groups and chambers are around, it's really worth connecting in to those groups to understand what that industry can offer more. The likes of MEF and FAN have monthly get-togethers, and especially MEF will go out and visit lots of the industry on the coast and really encourage students to come along and understand what advanced manufacturing would look like for the region. So hopefully that gives everyone a better understanding of, one, the REDs, and please do, if you're inclined to go and visit the Sunshine Coast Council's website and understand where those focus areas are, the industries that make up the high value industries that were identified and those new emerging industries, and then the support network that goes on within the coast to ensure that that growth and prosperity doesn't just happen by chance. It's actually a lot of people's time and effort on focusing on how we can build these industries and how we can make the best region and in Australia. And as we see, that's where all the migration is really coming from.
That's amazing. Thank you, Andy. And if we just go back to that slide, I just really want to reiterate that point you just made, that if your child does have sort of an inkling of being, into sports, they could, connect in, as you say, to the Sunshine Coast Sports Group, the high performance groups, or the Manufacturing Excellence Forum. If they do have anything, they've got an inkling for production and manufacturing. If the Screen Collective, there are really great industries that are there to basically help and connect and know what businesses are here on the Sunshine Coast. So it is, as Andy said, a really great starting point for you, and then of course for your local area to connect in with the chambers. So thank you, Andy, and thank you so much for being so instrumental in spearheading a lot of that work that's been happening in the region as well.
Thank you.
So next we're going to go to, I think there's a video here. So this is a video that we're really passionate about and love that we were able to bring this together, thanks to Min and her team. And it really speaks to the career success stories that some of our local leaders have had, and resonates with just the career path that your children could have for the future here in the Sunshine Coast as well. So we'll play the video. Thanks.
I'm really excited about the future of the coast, and I think everyone should be pumped. The economic opportunities and prosperity for the future is growing.
I specifically chose the Sunshine Coast to move to. Part of that was wanting a combination of nature, community and opportunity. The entrepreneurial spirit that's here was something really unique.
You'd be really surprised at what businesses actually are here. Absolutely, you can have a great career on the Sunshine Coast. It can provide everything that a city can provide, that's for sure.
The yearbook of Caloundra High in 2000, actually I think it was primary school. It said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote Prime Minister.
I was the quintessential failure at school. The greatest education I had was when I left school.
When I was at school, I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
I think there's so much pressure and peer pressure to have it all sorted out when you finish and graduate year 12. Life doesn't work like that. It came crushing down for me. I decided at the end of year 12 I wanted to be a lawyer, and I didn't get an OP result that got me into law school.
Marteniekie High sort of gave me the inspiration with their hospitality. As soon as I started cooking in hospitality at school, I realised that I had a passion for it. So that started the journey for me.
I've tended to choose industries based actually on following people that inspire me. I've worked in professional services, education, science and technology, manufacturing, aerospace, disability, and now I'm in mobile battery technology. So it's definitely been a non-linear career path.
I had to work really hard while I was studying for 12 months to get my GPA down.
Do you want to watch it?
To allow me to go to law school, I worked at a chicken abattoir. I was working at KFC in Caloundra and Maroochydore, and just working non-stop to achieve what I wanted to do.
I went over and worked in the US, went back up to the Whitsundays, that was fun, and all those paths came to a crescendo back in Maroochydore. We never set out to be really disruptive, but right now as we sit here in Maroochydore, we've got 540 staff, 7 restaurants, 2 bottle shops. We'd have over half a dozen people in our team that earn a 6-figure income.
I've always been a fan of filling my plate up completely to satisfy all the different parts of my life. So I run a startup at the moment. I also have a side hustle managing a pro racing driver, and I compete in powerlifting all at the same time.
Serving as Deputy Premier, it's pretty special for the Sunshine Coast, and I think it shows that no matter what school you go to on the Sunshine Coast, you can be what you want to be, achieve what you want to achieve.
You can't be scared of failure, because if you're scared of failure, then you won't get up in the morning, because failure is everywhere. It's just what you do with it.
Open your mind up and don't limit your opportunities. There are so many different things that you can do that you can't even imagine and that don't even exist yet.
Never underestimate the support of mum and dad and parents and carers and supporters, because they need to be there to back you. And when you get knocked down, it's those that are around you will hold you up and make sure you can take the next steps, because the next steps are even better.
I love that storytelling there. And we're going to have a little change of pace now because we're going to speak to our keynote, Wanda, who is going to present to us from a career advisor's perspective on taking on the future one step at a time. Thanks, Wanda.
Thanks very much, Tracy. And I do love those career success stories. They're so real, aren't they? It's my great privilege to work in a role where I work with young people, and I'm going to refer to them as kids because it's much easier to say, and it's the evening, so I'm just going to call them kids. So I work with kids who are working through transitions and decision points, just as you are. So I'm assuming that you're here because you have a young person, a kid in your household who is staring down the barrel of one of those decision points, one of those transition points, and looking for some inspiration about what to do when they think this. Next slide, please. So this is a question that I get all the time. How can I choose? I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. So how can I choose my subjects? How can I do that? So I think probably there are 3 questions we need to address. So if we go to the next slide. So I think the 3 questions that we need to address are these, and I hope these are the kinds of questions that are on your mind. Why won't this kid take this decision seriously? What if they make the wrong decision? How can I help them build a successful life? I'm going to tackle those questions one at a time. So next slide. So I'm going to give you a quick answer to this because I talk to students all the time about these decisions that they have to make, and I ask them often, what is it that's making it hard for you to make a decision? What is it that's making it hard for you to come to the decision table? And basically what comes up most often is the 4-letter F word, fear. So it's fear that makes them avoid that process because it's scary. The world is much bigger for the kids today than it was when we were kids, much bigger. The options are more diverse, they're more plentiful, and it can be downright overwhelming to have all those options in front of them. And so it's scary. So here's what I do. So I talk about students not making a decision that's about choosing their career path, planning their future, because those things mean that they're 15 or 16 years old. Those things are in the future, they're not now. I just want them to think about what they're going to do next. So one of my mantras is, what's next? Next slide, please. So here's the thing. I'm sure that you know from your own careers what you thought was going to happen to you when you were 15 possibly isn't exactly what happened in the long run. And part of the reason for that is that careers are repeated events where we take another step. And all our young people, all our kids are doing when they're making decisions now is they are deciding on the next step, the first step from here. So it's not about the rest of their life. And I've actually spoken to parents and said, look, it's not about the rest of their life. It's just about what they're going to do next year. And if we can all get them thinking just about that, what are you going to do next year? Then that is not nearly as scary. So now I know that possibly you're thinking about the next question on the next slide, which is, but what if they make the wrong decision? So I'm going to tell you, it's really hard to make the wrong decision. The best way to make a really bad decision is to go, oh, it's too hard, I can't think about it, I'll have that one. And just choose randomly to get the decision out of the way. So we don't want them doing that. Yes, of course, the decisions they make now will to a certain extent, but less than you think. They'll dictate what options are available to them in the future, but less than you think. If they do an English subject, they do a maths subject, and they do a science subject, they're pretty much covered for almost anything they want to do. So it's not as critical as you think. You know, it's not a case in the world where if you don't study IT at school, you can't go into IT later on. However, I'm not sure why you'd want to go into IT later on if you didn't want to study it at school, which brings me to what this is about. I want you to take a step back, next slide please, and step away from that kind of fear about making a decision and realise that good choices are always founded on really solid self-awareness. So the person who understands themselves will always make a good choice, will always make a good decision. And I know from working with students over an extended period, and you possibly know from working with your own children, that they're not very good at looking inwards and reflecting upon their skills, their talents, their interests. So they don't like doing it. So I want you to think about being a mirror for them. It's one of the key things that I do in my role is hold up a mirror for them to help them see themselves, help them see what switches them on, help them understand why they like the subjects that they like and why they don't like the subjects they don't like, why they spend hours and hours gaming, what's going on there, what is the attraction, what are the things that they're most curious about, what are the things that pull them in. Those things are what floats their boat. And so I talk to my students about, think about what floats your boat, and then we'll work out where you can float it. So this is a very important first step to get them thinking about themselves, because if they know themselves and they choose well, they can't make a mistake. If I love science and I choose something related to science, that's going to go well for me. If I love science and I choose something else, that's not going to go so well for me. So it's a no-brainer, and people think it's kind of rocket science, this whole process, but it's actually really easy. If you follow what you like, then that will open up opportunities in things that you like. Yeah, sure, it won't open up opportunities in the same way in things that you don't like, but you don't like those, so it doesn't actually matter that much. So be that mirror. It's a really important gift that you can give to your kids. Be a mirror for them. Help them to explore themselves, their own interests, their own passions. Avoid what I call occupation shopping. That thing of, you know, just naming the things that they know about and saying, I'd like to do this because I saw it on TV, or I'd like to do this because I really liked that movie, or I'd like to do this because my best friend's dad does it and it looks really cool. Now, those are all ways to become aware of options. But again, if they don't make a connection to who the person is that's making the decision, they're meaningless. It's like walking down a supermarket aisle and going, I'll have one of those, please, and putting it in trolley, and that's it. That's not how you make a career choice. And most importantly, they're going to try and hook you into telling them what you think they should do. They will. They try to hook me into telling them what I think that they should do, and I hardly know them. I don't know them nearly as well as you do. So they're going to hook you into that. Don't get sucked into that. Don't get sucked into choosing for them. Tell them, you do you. This is your life that you're planning. I can't plan your life. It's yours to plan. Otherwise, you're living my version of your life, not your version of your life. So it's tempting to try to provide a solution for them. And certainly because you know them well, in that mirror sense, you can hold up a kind of image of what you see are their strengths, what you see them being interested in, and talking with them and trying to get them to engage with that. But solution finding, not so great. Next slide, please. So part of the challenge here, and part of the reason that this is all quite fraught, is because we want our kids to be successful, right? So I want us to think about what success means on the next slide. So these are two beautiful quotes about success that I love to see. So, and I love that Schweitzer quote, that success doesn't bring happiness, happiness brings success. If you have joy in what you're doing, if you're motivated to do it and you're excited about it and enthusiastic about it, you will be successful. And I often tell students, they'll say, I just want a job that'll pay well. Well, I always tell them, the thing is that if you do something that you're really good at and you're very enthusiastic about, you're going to get paid well for it. So there's not many things that you could do that you wouldn't get paid well for them if you did them well and with enthusiasm. So it's really about finding that enthusiasm and that joy and building on it. So speaking of building, let's talk Lego. So here's my theory. Careers are not decision points. They are a crafting exercise. We're always building. We're always adding new skills. And Tracy talked about skills that are in demand, and the career stories talked about building skills. So we're always doing that. We started at school when we were playing sport, when we were in the robotics club, if there was a robotics club, there wasn't when I was at school, but anyway, but playing chess, reading voraciously, all the things that we do at school, not just the ones in the classroom, but all the things that we do in school. They all give us skills. They all help develop our character. They all help develop our capacity. And that's a Lego set. So when I worked with adults, I used to talk with adults about taking the Lego set apart and using the blocks to build something new. Take your skills apart, rearrange them, build something new. For kids, it's at the beginning. They're building their Lego set now. I really encourage you to talk about this with them. What are they learning that they can carry with them forward into life? Communication was one of the top 5 skills on Tracy's list. They're learning communication skills everywhere they go, on the rugby field, in the computer games, in classes, at the family dinner table. They're learning those communication skills everywhere they go. And it's good for them to be intentional about that. So one of the things I tell my students is become intentional collectors of building blocks of a future career. You don't have to know what you're going to use them for yet. Just be collecting them and thinking about what you can do with them as you go along. So in summary, 3 things. Focus on what's next. It's not the rest of their life. It's just what they're going to do next. Be that mirror for them. Help them to understand what floats their boat. And then you can help them work out where to float it. And make this a crafting exercise, a building exercise that starts now and continues right through the next several years, right through their career, hopefully, constantly building and rearranging those building blocks. Because I think Charlie Brown tells us what we're all looking for. And that's certainly what I hope for you and your students. I really encourage you to have those conversations with them. It's such a blessing for me to be able to have those conversations as part of my job. You just get to do it for fun. So have fun with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you as always, Wanda. We love hearing you speak. Wanda was able to be our keynote also for the teachers' dinner and was instrumental in our Lego activity that we actually got the students to do to build their skill set right there at our showcase as well. So thank you, Wanda, and especially for doing it when you're unwell. We're really appreciative. Next, we're going to have a video from TAFE Queensland. Thanks.
For over 140 years, TAFE Queensland has been delivering practical and industry-relevant training to provide students with the skills and experience they need to build lifelong careers. Renowned with delivering high-quality, industry-standard training that provides employers with skilled and job-ready workers, TAFE Queensland partners with industry and government to ensure that our graduates are not only prepared for today's job market, but are also adaptable to the evolving needs of tomorrow. We offer a wide range of pathways for students at different stages of their educational journey, starting with our TAFE at School program, which gives high school students the head start they need to hit the ground running in their chosen career once they graduate. Our TAFE at School students attend training 1 day a week, where they work towards a nationally recognised entry-level qualification while they're completing their high school studies. Their TAFE studies also earn them valuable QCE credits, as well as providing them with direct entry into any related TAFE Queensland course. We also offer Certificate 3 or higher level qualifications for those graduating from high school or individuals who are not of school age, providing the hands-on skills and qualifications needed to gain employment in as little as 6 to 18 months. TAFE Queensland works closely with employers right across the region to ensure we deliver the skills they need most, both now and in the future. We collaborate on a wide range of projects, events, and opportunities that provide students with valuable hands-on experience and industry connections, and adapt our courses, facilities, and equipment to address the growing needs of our communities. Offering a broad range of in-demand study areas, including nursing, early childhood education and care, individual support, electrotechnology, cybersecurity, business, beauty, and more, TAFE Queensland is committed to ensuring students are well prepared to meet the needs of local industry and contribute meaningfully to their communities.
Thank you. And we have some amazing TAFE campuses around the region. And of course, lovely Dina is online with us to answer any questions you might have in the Q&A. So just a reminder, if you have any questions throughout, there is a Q&A button just at the top that you can type in your question, and we'll have a look at those at the end for the Q&A session. So next, I'd like to welcome Jodie Russell from UniSC. Thanks, Jodie.
Thanks so much, Tracy, and good evening, everybody. My job with UniSC, I'm a regional engagement coordinator. So as Wanda was saying, I'm very lucky this job does float my boat. So I connect with a lot of schools on the Sunshine Coast, whether it be the careers counsellor or the head of senior, and plan engagement activities. So there's a very good chance that if we haven't already, we'll be heading out to your child's school very soon. Okay, so before I get started, just go to the next slide. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and pay respects to elders past and present. So I'm just going to be taking you through the pathways into UniSC so that that can become part of the conversation with your student, or with your child, sorry. So when we go out to schools, we take out our study guides, and the study guides are organised into study areas. So you can see, you know, for example, business and creative industries and education, and it will have all of the associated programs with that particular area. So this is just an example out of the study guide, which is the Bachelor of Primary Education. So up the top, it will tell you which campuses offer the Bachelor of Primary Education. So you can see here Sunshine Coast, Moreton and Fraser Coast. It will give the ATAR and selection rank, and I will be talking very soon about a selection rank. So both of those are a number basically, just through a, you know, they're being achieved through a different means. Then the prerequisites. So for example, the Bachelor of Primary Education, the prerequisites would be English and Maths. This is an old example. Just as a side note, science was a prerequisite for Bachelor of Primary Education, but that has been removed. But this is an important conversation that we have with Year 10 students, because if they are in the position of knowing at that point what they do want to do after school, and let's say they do want to, you know, they want to be a teacher in a primary school, then they should be looking at the prerequisites to make sure that when they're choosing their subjects in Year 10, that they are choosing these prerequisite subjects. But of course, you know, like Wanda was saying, sometimes students don't know. It could be that they're in Year 12 and, you know, they've decided later on that they might want to pursue a Bachelor of Primary Education, and they may be in the position of not having met the prerequisite at that point. But that, where there's a will, there's a way. And I guess that's a good segue onto discussing the pathways into UniSC. So just briefly, ATAR is a pathway, selection rank, Head Start, early offer guarantee, and also tertiary preparation pathway. So I'm just going to have a quick little chat about selection rank and Head Start, early offer guarantee and tertiary preparation pathway. And of course, if you have any questions, yeah, just pop them into the Q&A chat. Okay, so on to the next slide. Just looking at Head Start first. So Head Start is a transition program, so students can start studying a university subjects whilst they're still at school. So they can start in semester 2 of year 10, also year 11 and 12. Of course, it is dependent on the school, because some schools, they might say that they don't do Head Start in semester 2 of year 10, or, you know, they may not offer it in semester 2 of year 11. So it's great to have a chat with the school. The first course with Head Start is free, and then it's $400 for any subsequent courses, which is quite a big savings. If a student did start Head Start in semester 2 of year 10, they could effectively complete 4 UniSC courses. So sometimes, you know, when they start university, if they've done all courses aligned with a program, they could, you know, get up to a semester of credit once starting university. It's important to note as well that once a student has completed 2 Head Start courses, they will receive a selection rank after completing those 2 courses, and that can be used as an entry pathway into UniSC, so just that alone. Students will also receive QCE points and an adjustment factor, so that's 1 ATAR rank per course. And as I just mentioned, also credit into eligible programs. So Head Start is for not just for when a student knows exactly what they want to do and they want to get started on it, but it's also for students that might be tossing up between a couple of different programs. Like, you know, for example, I'm interested in psychology, but I'm also really interested in criminology. So they might do a psychology course one semester, and then the next semester, you know, they could do criminology, because it helps them to learn more about their self and their interest. Okay, so students can also use a selection rank to get into UniSC. So as an example, so you can see all the numbers there from a Cert 3 and higher. A Certificate 3 will give a student a selection rank of 68. So on the Sunshine Coast, we do see a lot of students that are doing the Certificate 3 in allied health support or community services, and they're using that to get into a Bachelor of Nursing, for example. And we have just as an example, the certificate course that a student is doing, it doesn't have to be aligned to the program that they want to do. One of our student ambassadors, she completed a Certificate 3 in hospitality, and she used that to get into UniSC to study town planning. And next slide. The tertiary preparation pathway. So this is a bridging program. So if someone is, you know, if your child has decided, I want to go to university, but they may not be confident that they have the skills or the academic skills required for university in terms of that critical reading, assignment writing, and referencing. They could start off with tertiary preparation pathway. It enables them to dip their toes into university and you know, get those basics, or those, not basic, but those skills that they need then to continue on into an undergraduate program. It is a free program. It's important to note as well, with TPP, students can actually get a selection rank after completing 3 or 4 courses. So there is a little example there, GPA, so that is grade point average. So for example, it has a GPA of 4. So a 4 is a pass. So if a student has done 4 tertiary preparation pathway courses and passed them all, they will get a selection rank of 70. So we do see a lot of students using that as an entry pathway. And it's also there to meet program prerequisites. The example I gave before, you know, specifically with the Bachelor of Primary Education, we have an ambassador. When we still had science as a prerequisite, she had done general maths and general English, but she hadn't done science at that point in time. So she did a science TPP program. So that enabled her to meet the prerequisite. So it can be, you know, to brush up on those academic skills and to get a selection rank, but also to meet program prerequisites. So thank you very much. There's the details if anyone would like to jot down the email address and the phone number. We have a really great team at Student Central, so you can even book in for a tour and have a walk around campus, but also great to get all of your questions answered. And please feel free to also join us at the Parent Lounge, so you can find out everything you need to know about uni for your child in one place. So you just need to search Parent Lounge UniSC. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jodie. And we'll share this as well so that people can connect afterwards. Thank you. Now I'd like to hand over to Marteniekie Forsyth from Education Queensland to talk all things QCE. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Well, I must say it is a rather exciting event to have our parents join us this evening, so thank you so much for coming. A little bit about myself. I have started my teaching career in a very early age, in my early 20s. I sort of did it because my parents were teachers. At the time, I really was a bit unsure as to what exactly I wanted to be. But I must say there was a passion involved, there was guidance, there was support from my parents and the school as well. So conversations are so important in communication around our three structures: parents, ourselves and our students, so it's really important that you connect with your school. But in saying that, for the last 25 years, I have been a maths and biology teacher. Ended up becoming a head of department, going to deputy principalship and also principal of a number of schools. So I have really enjoyed my time, and I've been privileged enough to be able to work with our North Coast region in supporting some of our schools, if not all of them, ranging all the way from Rosedale to Bribie Island, in stepping in and supporting our year 10, 11 and 12 students. So a lot of our focus is around our QCE system, and that's why I'm here this evening, is to speak with you a bit around the senior schooling. So for those of you who are a little bit unsure, just go back to the previous slide for just a brief moment. So for those of you who are unsure about what QCE actually stands for, this is the Queensland Certificate of Education, and it is the qualification that is awarded to students upon completing year 12. So I would like to share a few insights with you as to how you can support your child in achieving success during their senior years and preparing them for their future pathways. Next slide, please. Now, before we commence, I just quickly want to touch with you about something called student agency. Student agency is when we have got strong support structures around our students or our children. That means you, as a parent, in other words, that they are able to build confidence. They are able to build something called self-efficacy, where they are able to grow into a fantastic positive mindset. For them to build an awareness of where they may want to go in life, and that could be through case management with the school. It can be around discussions for meaningful pathways and work experience, or speaking to a career education advisor at school. And then, of course, retention, getting them to remain at school, finding a way to support your child through that year 10, 11 and 12 phase. So next slide, please. So for a student to successfully attain a QCE or Certificate of Education, they must achieve 20 credits or 20 points. I like to refer to them as credits because that's what we talk around at the QCAA, which is the site where all of their credits or their points will be logged, where their certificate will be issued from, etc. And this is the magic number, 20. Don't forget, we're going to unpack this very shortly. So to earn these credits, students must meet specific standards. They must follow a set pattern, and they must fulfill the literacy and numeracy requirements. So let's talk very quickly around what does this look like? How are the credits earned? Well, each subject studied at school in year 11 and 12 will carry 4 credits with them. So if your child's studying English over the 2 years, they should be able to get 4 credits. If they study mathematics over the 2 years, they should be able to get another 4 credits. So to reach the 20 credits, students typically will study 5 to 6 subjects. Certificates can also be added to that, where certificate 1 to a certificate 3 may range from a different number of credits. We'll unpack this in a little while. So most students will typically study around 6 subjects, and many schools will include usually the 5 and then a certificate, or they will just give the 6 in general. Now, should there be any need for students to only study 5, that's okay. The 6th one that schools will often offer students to study is to simply create something called a buffer, some extra credits for in case circumstances change within a family, or sometimes when we know our kids can feel a little bit overwhelmed, that element of fear that may step in, that element of uncertainty. So what we have to do is try and still remember a QCE. There are many ways that we can get towards this as a certificate, but the magic number is 20. We must know that there is a set standard. What does that mean? We're going to unpack that in a moment. The set pattern, and then the need to meet the literacy and numeracy requirements. Next, so just before we go, my apologies, go back just a second. Now, to have a set standard, what does it mean? Students must pass their subjects with a C or better. So if your child is choosing a subject, they are full of passion, full of confidence to be able to pass a subject, and they don't, some conversations will need to take place as to, is this the right pathway for you? Is this the right subject choice that you may have made? Now, remember, we are wanting to look at gaining credits. So in order to do so, we must have that set standard where they satisfactorily complete their subject or their course with a C or better. When we talk about them having a set pattern, we talk about this 20 credits again. Now, there's a bit of a trick here, and you must remember this one. Those 20 credits are broken up into two parts. The first part, we talk about the 12 credits out of the 20 that is seen as core credits. That means a student will study maths, English, and let's say biology, only because that's one of my favourite subjects, maths, English, and biology over the 2 years. That means that they are studying it in year 11 all the way through to year 12, and that will be seen as core requirements. Really important. So 3 subjects must be studied across the 2 years in order for them to meet the core requirements. Now, remember, every subject carries 4 credits with it. So 4, 8, 12. And then, of course, we've got the other 8. So we've got our 20 credits as an overarching. We've got our 12 on the side that meets our core requirements, and then met with the other 8 additional credits. How can we make up these 8 additional credits? That could be simply done through other subject studies, aquatic practices, legal studies, whatever floats your child's boat, whatever makes them feel passionate about their subject choices. So at the end of that, we also talk around literacy and numeracy. That means your child must pass at least 1 unit of work in mathematics or English. And if they don't, that's okay. I must say, English is not my first language, so I often struggle with the English language, but I tell you what mathematics is, that's my world. So in saying that, what does it mean if a student doesn't pass English or mathematics or one or the other? There's also something called short courses. Now, we'll unpack that in just a brief moment, but each of those short courses can be done in either year 10, 11 or 12. It will come from the school and how they set it up. It could be a 6-month course. It could be a course that runs for a few weeks. It could be a course set up for across the year. But ultimately, your school will be responsible in making sure that your child has met the set standard of credits, the set pattern of how they're going to do it with the core requirements of the 12 and the 8, and then, of course, the literacy and numeracy components. Within that set pattern, we can also look at those 8 additional credits that can be obtained from a certificate, perhaps, something where they may study a certificate 2 in electrotechnology, or automotives, or hospitality, something that may fuel their fire for being at school. Next slide, please. Now, this is a quick little one that I thought I'd just pop in. So subjects are broken up into 2 parts. You've got general subjects and you've got applied subjects. Those general subjects will prepare students for tertiary education, further study or employment. And the applied subjects, just underneath that one, will basically focus on practical skills and are designed to prepare students for the workforce. Both the general and the applied subjects are considered to be core subjects, each contributing 4 QCE credits per subject. So just as that is set out at the moment, your child's pathway can look very different in some ways. Some may choose to go to university, so they choose a number of general subjects. Remember, 5 subjects. Maybe a 6 just to create that buffer, or they may choose to only study 4 general subjects and 1 applied subject, potentially so. That will also gain them entry into university or into further study. Your child may choose that university is not necessarily my pathway. That's okay. Therefore, I'm going to look at only applied subjects, study the 5 subjects, and perhaps look at a certificate if need be. You can also use short courses that would aid 1 credit towards those 20 credits overall. Next slide, please. And if you're anything like me as a parent, I'm going, show me the example. What do I need to know? So as a deputy or a principal, we often used to look at our student learning profiles. This here is done through the QCAA. Your school would have registered your child already. If not, they will do so very shortly, being in year 10 leading into year 11. And the idea is that you have got a senior schooling profile or a senior schooling phase that will lead from year 11 semester 1 all the way through to year 12. Now, there are a number of things we can see here. I have just randomly created something along these lines of this student is studying English, mathematics, biology. My goodness, there are the 3 core things that I need. And you can see that across year 11 all the way through to year 12, they have given a tick that they have been enrolled in the unit of work that will go for 6 months. If they get a satisfactory result for English, for example, they will give 1 credit towards that subject. This will then go across the 2 years and ultimately be able to attain 4 credits for English. I have actually highlighted the little yellow section just to show that year 12 studies will need to be done jointly. Your child is okay to change some subjects in year 11 as long as they finish a unit of work. That's every 6 months. Should they get into a subject at early days and they go, Mum, Dad, this is just not for me, talk to your school around what this may look like moving forward for future reference. But do remember, once they get into year 12, those subject changes cannot just happen or occur. You cannot break the pattern. You cannot break the standard, and you certainly will impact the number of credits if your child decides to change subjects midway through year 12. And every good school should be saying, no, this should not be happening. We've made our subject choices, ready to go for year 12. With that, I would like to also just remind you that the QCAA website is a fantastic resource to find this information and to step you through your child's I need to know. And even as a parent engagement, where you think I need to know some information, some bedtime reading, QCAA website is fantastic for this information. And then just looking through, this student, for example, has also done legal studies. In semester 1 of year 11, they have actually got an unsatisfactory. What does this mean? If they failed the unit of work, they won't be able to get a credit. So please make sure that you look with your child at their student learning profiles when you get the opportunity over time and look at the number of credits that they are having. And again, communication is the key to success. Talk to your school, talk to your year level coordinator for your student, and certainly do talk to a career education provider as well in regards to this. Just a reminder as well, Certificate 2, for example, in automotives can be offered through TAFE or an RTO. That would often have the 4 credits associated with it as well. And that number of percentage or completion will basically provide the number of credits that the student will be eligible for. So just out of this here, remember, we need to study 5 subjects with 4 credits each across the 2 years. Year 11 and 12 is literally a mirror of what should be happening. It's year 11 is preparing them for that year 12 progression towards the QCE. Next slide, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you. So we just have to wrap up. We've got one more lot of speakers. Thank you, Dina. Do you want to just quickly go through that? Because we've got the slides to
that's
connect
okay.
with
If you can
as
just
well.
skip to the next slide. Just a little bit of a reminder of what the QCE standard looks like. And then there was just one little thing that I wanted to add you, my apologies. And I often share the analogy with my parents. If you're traveling from Townsville to Brisbane, there are many ways that you can get there. You can fly, you can drive, you can ride a bike, or even walk. But no matter the method, you will reach your destination. So as parents, keep up the job in communication with your child and educating yourself and looking at the education that the school is providing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marteniekie, and we'll share all of those links you've got in your slides as well. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to hand over to Tara Jacobsen and Shannara Goddard for our final speakers. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Tara, we just can't hear you. Can't hear us yet. Hopefully in a second. Tara's from Groei Education and works very closely as well with Shannara for Study Sunshine Coast, who also looks after Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast too. We just can't hear you at the moment. Tara, are you able to speak again? See? No. Shannara, do you want to go and then we'll see if we can get, yeah. So if you don't mind just fast forwarding Annie to the slides for Study Sunshine Coast. And then we'll hopefully get Tara on in a second.
Thanks everybody. Can you hear me well now?
Yes, thank
All
you.
good. Thank you, Tracy. I'm sure we'll sort out that technical glitch. Good evening, parents and carers. I'm Shannara Goddard, the Program Manager for Study Sunshine Coast. Study Sunshine Coast is the official student and education industry body for our region and supported by the Sunshine Coast Council and Study Queensland. We have 4 key pillars: student and destination marketing. Just move to the next slide, please. Enhancing student experience and connection, employability and talent pipelines, and industry engagement and collaboration. Next slide. We connect to around 4,500 students. We provide free training, workshops, industry events, and future focus programs that help students grow in confidence and capability. We work closely with schools, UniSC, TAFE to ensure that students are future ready and have career opportunities right here on our Sunshine Coast. One of our key initiatives that we're very proud of is the Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast. We're just going to play a little video for that one as well.
So part of the regional economic development strategy is making sure that young people know the options and the opportunity that they have here on the Sunshine Coast. There's a range of programs that have been delivered over the past few years, including the Mayor's Telstra Innovation Awards, the Big Day in Digital Careers Conference, the Generation Innovation GI Challenge, and the DeLorean project at the Glasshouse Christian College. All of these projects are around building the soft skills and the capability of our young people so that they can compete in a global marketplace and a global workforce and really develop their entrepreneurial and business ideas. With those programs, they ask students to come up with a business idea. They submit that idea. They're then taken through a mentoring process with local industry leaders who volunteer their time. And they come out the other side with a more developed business idea that they get to do a live pitch on stage in front of the judges too. And it's a really great experience. It really is about these young people being able to get up on stage and learn those soft skills that are really difficult and really valuable in the marketplace.
We're part of an FTC robotics team called the Chancellor Robo Kings. We are on the same team. We've been on the same team together for 2 seasons now, and it's a worldwide robotics competition.
Part of the opportunity we've been given by joining the Robotics Club is to conduct outreach. So part of that outreach got us the connection with the Perugian Digital Hub.
Every holidays, we go there under the name TNT Robotics, and we teach CAD workshops and teach about 3D printing and advanced manufacturing like laser cutting to the younger generation to hopefully inspire them and get them to become more interested in robotics just like we were.
So RoboCoast, RoboRave, programs like that, I think it's very important in building up the skills that are needed, for example, our competition FTC for university level or further on.
So with all those programs that we've developed and supported over the years, we realised that we needed to actually bring that together so we had a bit of an overview about all the youth innovation and entrepreneurship programs that were happening. So what we did is we brought together a group called Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast, and that really brings together those different groups and different stakeholders supporting youth innovation in the region and helps map out a bit of a calendar of events, a bit of a understanding about the pathways that students can go through, where they might start with one program and then go on to another program, and really supports them through that process. The other part of that is around connecting them with industry mentors and some real life examples of what they could be. And so I think providing those opportunities so they understand the pathway to success is super important, and that's what Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast does.
Fantastic. And parents, I really urge you to head on over to studysunshinecoast.com.au, and we do have a drop down Youth Innovation Sunshine Coast. There you'll see all the events and the calendar. Super easy to download and put on your fridge. At the start of the session, Tracy shared that one of the future skills on the rise is leadership. So we're really pleased to announce our Mayor's Telstra Innovation Masterclass series. And this is perfect if your child's interested in leadership, creativity or innovation. This is an excellent opportunity, and our first masterclass will be on June the 4th. We're featuring Future Entrepreneurial Leaders Masterclass Workshop, which is a bit of a mouthful, led by world record pilot Lockie Smith, with closing remarks from our Mayor, Rosanna Natoli. It's a fully funded event and includes goodie bags thanks to Telstra and will take place in our City Hall. This gives students a real taste of leadership and action in our local government building. If this sounds something that your child would love, or you know other young adults that are interested, it is from years 8 till 10. You can register. There's a QR code on the screen, or you can head over to studysunshinecoast.com.au and /Mayor's Masterclass. So now we're going to head back over to Tara, and if her mic is working, otherwise I'll be delivering.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! I don't know what I did, but it's working now. That's fabulous. You might whiz over to my slides. So while you're doing that, sorry about that, everybody. Apologies for a few tech issues from my end. So I really just want to do a quick touch on an alternative option for you in terms of evidencing skills. Maybe just next slide, please, guys. Thanks. Groei Education, we are essentially an alternative education provider. We provide digital credentials and skills pathways. So we say and these are designed to sit alongside traditional education to support learners across all stages. So really following on from what Tracy and Wanda said, we codify, I guess, those what we call blue skills or soft skills that sit alongside some of those more formal qualifications like communication, AI, which Tracy mentions were some of the most in-demand skills at the moment, and Wanda's message around becoming intentional collectors of skills. And so that's very much what we help young people do at Groei Education. So we're a pathway provider that offers stackable, transferable and portable digital credentials that sit alongside industry and often are co-designed with industry and recognised by industry. And so if you want to just go to the next slide, it kind of gives you an idea that we look at these credentials a bit like what, as Wanda said, Lego blocks. So these support you to build a portfolio of verified real world skills that young people can take with them as a stackable portfolio of their skills. And I think there was a mention today about young people having agency over their own skills. So we help them do that. Both through our own credentials, but we also support industry to create credentials that they might offer, as well as potentially education providers they might offer alongside those more formal education components. An example of, so we can stack micro skills into skills badges, and then they can also be stacked into a longer program like a micro pathway. So here's an example of that in the next slide. So this is actually an example of Talent Accelerate, which is a recently federal funded program that we just did. We also have a micro pathway called the NOE CoLab, which offers a cert for an entrepreneurship and new business, and is actually 4 skills badges that goes for 12 months and is focused on young people, supporting young people to build their own startup. But this is an example of one that we've recently run on the Sunshine Coast in partner with the Manufacturing Excellence Forum industry partner. You would have heard Tim Kelly speaking on that video. It's recently just finished, but we're hoping to get some more funding for this for the Sunshine Coast. But this was really about helping young people gain skills and credentials around those thinking skills, so communication, empowered action, critical thinking. They did a whole badge on using AI and AI stacking of tools, and then they went into a work integrated learning placement with industry. So that's actually just finished, but we're hoping we'll get further funding for this, and that's was co-designed with the manufacturing sector, and was very exciting kind of programming, and quite a few of those young people are actually going to be potentially getting roles after that work integrated learning placement. So just gives you a bit of an idea of what could look different in terms of skills pathways and pathway options in addition to or alongside traditional education, as well as in partnership with industry. If you've got any questions, I'll stay online. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tara, and thanks, Shannara. I always love hearing from you guys. And I know we've run a little bit over time, so thank you all for staying with us. It was a really jam-packed schedule. We've been keeping an eye on the Q&As. Please still feel free to continue that. We're just going to tie off now, and we'll be staying online for anyone that wants to stay online and have a chat. Otherwise, you can still contact us. The QR code there that's on the screen is for the website. So the scrjc.com.au. It's the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee website. You can find future careers details on there. You can also contact us through the web form and stay in touch if you want us to connect you to any of the speakers tonight, if you want to to find anything more about industry or data, etc., we are definitely here for that. You can also go online. There's just a slide at the end that shows that we have parent resources on there. So if you wanted to find links to some of the key data for your students and children, you can have a look at that there. And also a calendar of events of the exciting things that are coming up in industry that are also happening. So we'll say goodnight to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And anyone who would like to stay on, please do. And if you want to pop in your details in the chat, we'll be able to ask some of our speakers. But thank you and have a lovely evening. Thank you for the lovely comments that are coming through. Good night, everybody. We had one question that's come through that was for Jodie, who's answered that before for us. And she was just, the parent was asking about increasing intake in Bachelor of Medicine for UniSC because it's limited places. And while those places will remain limited, there is also an additional program that is the Regional Health Workforce Scheme, which is a new admission pathway. So there's some great information there that Jodie's provided. So if that's something that you're interested in as well, please let us know, and we'll make sure that detail also gets added to the recording when we send that through. And also we'll send through the Groei video as well, just to make sure that everyone got to see that after the couple of technical issues there as well. And so we'll be able to get that out in the next couple of days. Has anyone got any other questions that they'd like to add in the Q&A box? Just so you know, you'll get a copy of the presentation with everyone's slides, so you can contact people, you can find out how to get more information, which is also great. We would like to thank all our speakers as well tonight who've given up their night for us. Thank you so much for being part of the parent webinar today and for always offering your very amazing time. I can see lots of hands up in the side screen that I have. Well done. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we can say good night. Yeah, and thank you all again for staying on. Thank you for being part of this webinar. Thanks for being part of this conversation. It really is the start. We'd love to stay in contact. So please connect in through myself at the Sunshine Coast Regional Jobs Committee, or when we send out the details for our speakers as well. And have a lovely night. And hopefully all your students find and children find amazing careers for the Sunshine Coast. We'd love to have them and keep them here. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.